We're continuing where we left off last class, where we ended with the different trimesters and what happened, what are the major events that happen within each trimester. During weeks 1 through 13, you have conception, you have morning sickness, the morning sickness is in the mother, doesn't feel very well, nausea, heartburn. In the embryo, the heart and the brain form. Yeah, the entire embryonic stage. You are officially a fetus by week 10. All organ systems are formed. Okay. And if you want to talk about size, you go from being a zygote, which is just one cell, to about the size of a lemon, which is approximately 3 inches across or 3 inches in length. You may not notice a baby bump on the mom yet, but she can definitely feel it. Her pants might be getting a little tighter. But you also, women that I've known generally don't like to announce that they are pregnant during the first trimester, because this is when a miscarriage is most likely. So no one really likes to have to tell everybody I lost my pregnancy. So they just tend to keep that under wraps until the second trimester, when you can start to say, hey, we're pregnant, all that stuff. Yeah.
What's the latest in the trimester that you can have a miscarriage without actually having?
You don't go through labor at all in the first trimester.
No, I mean in like the trimesters. What's the latest in the miscarriage?
I don't know. I would say by the third trimester, it should be viable. It can live outside the womb. Might be tough, but it could. So probably second trimester at some point. That would have been a good Dr. Christie question. Okay, let's move on to weeks 14 through 27. This is the second trimester. Okay, here we go. Weeks 14, some major events. Fetus has hair. The fetus starts to develop fingerprints. Here's the fun fact. Your fingerprints are developed from the movements that you do within your mother. All the kicking and the squirming and the punching and the karate chopping, all of that develops your fingerprints, which is why identical twins have different fingerprints despite having the same DNA, because it's hard to mimic the exact same movements. You're getting a lot of fetal movement, a lot of squirming in there. The lungs begin to really develop. The fetus is starting to develop vision and hearing. They can begin to hear things. There's some major growth spurts during this trimester. And as far as size is concerned, you go from being the size of an orange, which I think is about 4 inches, to week 27, which is the size of a cabbage, which is about 14.5 inches. So you can expect perhaps 10 inches or more of growth. And ladies, your uterus is the size of a soccer ball by this time. Do you remember what fruit I told you that your uterus is for a woman that has never had a pregnancy before? Huh? No. A lemon. I never said a lemon. A pear. Your uterus is the size of a pear. An upside down pear. You go to the grocery store, that's you. All right. Last one, third trimester. You're getting really big at this point. Well, let me get this out of the way. We'll look at that a little later. All right, third trimester, weeks 28 through 40. This is months 7, 8, and 9. You're having lots of kicking here. Got a little soccer player inside you. Baby can be sucking his thumb. Organs are fully formed. Anybody here a premature birth? How many weeks early were you, Aiden? 3 months early, so third trimester. That's
supposed to be born in March something.
Wow. Anyone else?
I'm just a month.
You were just a month. So typically by the third trimester, with some help by the hospital and the neonatal unit, you can survive. Not everyone can. Aiden did. But third trimester, things are just about formed. You just have to kind of fully cook. But everything is formed. They just need to grow. You have a rapidly developing brain. The baby begins to be positioned downward because what part of the baby should be born first? The head should be born first. So the fetus is positioned downward. And then right around week 40, you're ready. And so we're going to go from the size of a head of lettuce. No, wait, the size of cauliflower, which can be about 16 inches, to the size of a small pumpkin, which can be 19 all the way to 22 inches. I was 21 inches long. Anybody else beat that? Anyone know what their measurements were? Well, you were preemie, so you were tiny. Anybody know how much they weighed? I was 7 pounds, 7 ounces. What were you? 7'6". Dude, you don't count. You were right grain of rice. Anyone else? I was 7'7". She was 7'6". No one knows your measurements? You were 6 pounds even? Well, you were a month early. All right. So those are some of the major things that happen in the first trimester. Girls, as far as what you can expect, the first trimester, you're going to feel nauseous, morning sickness, might be puking, but that should all subside by the second trimester. Second trimester, you actually get a lot more energy back. You're less nauseous. Third trimester, getting pretty big. Your feet might be swollen. They call that edema. You're gaining weight. And I actually did some interesting reading. They say that every day a woman should consume just 300 extra calories. And you want to eat actual substantive food. Like you want to eat good food, proteins, carbs, lipids, not just junk food. I knew someone that ate nothing but ice cream, like the whole pregnancy. Baby needs more than just sugar and dairy. Needs a lot of stuff. All right. Okay, well, with that all being said and done, let's move on to some of the fun stuff. What can the mother expect as far as her body changes? So we're going to have changes in mother during pregnancy. Then we'll get to labor. Then I'll get to the grand finale, which is actual childbirth. Changes in mother during pregnancy. Yesterday was Mother's Day. Hopefully you're thankful for what your mother had to go through. If you don't know what she went through, here you go. The reproductive system receives a lot more blood. What kinds of things are actually carried in your blood that a developing person would need? Oxygen, hormones, nutrients, vitamins, minerals, all the stuff that your blood transports. Remember that your circulatory system is a transportation system. And a lot of that needs to go to your uterus. The mother is going to experience increased hormone levels, mainly the ovarian hormones. Can you tell me what the ovarian hormones are? Estrogen and progesterone. This leads to enlarged breasts. Why are they enlarged? It's mainly because of more blood and milk production. You don't produce milk after birth. You produce milk during child labor, or excuse me, during child pregnancy. Because once that baby's born, the baby's hungry. You can't just wait to produce milk. It will already have been made. The uterus pushes up into the abdominal cavity, all the way up to your sternum. Ladies, your uterus is like right here. It will go all the way up to here, your sternum. Uterus pushes higher into abdominal cavity. Up to the sternum. So I think Aiden was asking what happens to all the organs, like the intestines, the stomach, the liver, the pancreas. They just get pushed out of the way. They get smushed. The mother can expect some considerable weight gain. You've got morning sickness. What trimester does that normally happen in? That's typically just the first. Heartburn, constipation, you're gonna have trouble pooping. Frequent urination, you have no problem with that. Difficulty breathing, that's gonna be the third trimester. And then edema. Edema is swelling. Your fingers might swell up, your cheeks may swell up, especially your feet. Okay. And now we have the fun part. Last part for today, guys. Stages of labor. There's 3 of them. You're gonna have a quiz on this. It's gonna be matching. You just have to match the event with what stage it belongs to. Be right back for a second. That door outside is really bothering me. All right. There are 3 stages of labor. You'll have a quiz on this tomorrow. It's just going to be matching. Match the event with the stage. Here's a few of the terms. Parturition is giving birth. You ever heard of postpartum? Postpartum means after birth. Like not the afterbirth stuff that comes out of the mother, just the time after the event of giving birth. Right now, your mothers are technically in postpartum. They're post-birth after you. Then we have labor. Labor is a series of events that expel the infant from what organ? The uterus. The womb, if you want to call it that. During labor, the cervix dilates. How much does it have to be dilated by? Has to dilate to 10 centimeters. What causes it to dilate? From what? Which part? Yes. Caused by pressure of the baby's head pushing up against the cervix. And what do you call the middle layer of the uterus, which is purely made of smooth muscle? We have the endometrium, which is on the inside, the parametrium, which is on the outside. What do you call the middle layer? That's all muscle. The myometrium. The myometrium prepares for contraction. The uterus receives a hormone from your pituitary gland called oxytocin. Oxytocin helps your uterus contract. Oxytocin comes from your pituitary gland. That's going to be on your exam in a few weeks if you have to take it. Okay, so that's some of the pre-stage stuff. Here we go. Stage 1. Stage 1 is dilation. I want to show you guys a picture of this up here. I'll come back to the writing in a sec. So this is dilation. The uterus is contracting. The baby's head is pushing up against the cervix, and the baby is actually starting to emerge from the cervix, but it is not out of the body yet. So it's just starting to enter the vagina, but it's still in the womb. This is the longest stage of the 3 stages of labor. The other 2 actually happen rather quickly, comparatively speaking. So this is the longest part of labor. Anybody know how long it could go for? It can go from 6 to 12 plus hours. Anyone here think that their mother has the record for the shortest labor? C-sections don't count. Yeah. That's short. That's really short. Anybody think they have a parent that went through a long labor? Yeah. All right. We already said the cervix dilates. And it does have to go 10 centimeters. The uterus contracts from top to bottom. Why would it go top to bottom instead of bottom to top? Think of what you're trying to accomplish here. Trying to squeeze it out. Trying to push that baby out. Now, when a woman is starting her contractions, they start out infrequent and they're very short. These contractions in this stage of childbirth are about 15 to 30 minutes apart, and they can last for 10 to 30 seconds. That's not a lot. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you might not have another contraction for half an hour. So these contractions are pretty easy. But what do you think happens to the frequency of the contractions as you get closer to the baby actually being delivered? Do they happen more or less frequently? More. And what do you think happens to the duration of the contractions? Do you think they get longer or shorter? So they happen more often and they happen longer. We'll get to that. The amniotic sac ruptures. If you don't recall what the amniotic sac is, I can show you a picture of it. We watched a video on Friday of a baby being delivered while it was still in the amniotic sac. What is the expression women say when the amniotic sac is ruptured? My water broke. So if you didn't see it on Friday, I can show you because I think I still have it up. Yep, there it is. That baby is still in the amniotic sac. It's a little ball of or bag of fluid that we develop inside of. And when you get to be so big that it ruptures, we have the expression that my water broke. Okay. And then finally, the head enters the vaginal canal, which is also known as the birth canal. You really haven't gotten to the major pushing yet. Any questions on any of the events that happened during stage 1 of child delivery? So your cervix dilates, the uterus is contracting, you push the baby's head is starting to leave the cervix and enter the vagina. This is the longest stage of pregnancy. The contractions are infrequent and short, but that's about to change. Here's the second stage, stage 2. Expulsion stage. If you were to be expelled from playing high school, you are kicked out. You can't come back. Well, that's what this is. You can't go back in there once you're out. This lasts from full dilation to delivery. Once you're in this stage, contractions are every 2 to 3 minutes, and they last for about a minute. So think about how the contractions changed, guys. They went from being every 15 to 30 minutes, lasting about 10 to 30 seconds. Now they're happening every 2 to 3 minutes, lasting 1 minute. So that's a long time. I will say, however, that when you have your first child, labor will probably be the longest. Every subsequent child, labor should be easier. So who in here is the oldest of a group of siblings? Oldest child or the first only child? Who in here is the oldest or only child? You were the hardest one to deliver. Anyone here a younger sibling? You were easier. You were probably easier because it's like your mom's uterus has already been through it. So it was already kind of stretched out. We have crowning. What does this mean? The head has emerged. Does anyone know what an episiotomy is? Okay, let me give you a hypothetical. You are giving natural childbirth and your vaginal opening is too small for the baby to pass through. What do? Olivia? They have to cut the size of the vagina so it can actually widen the canal to help the baby out, and then they'll stitch up the mom afterwards. This is an incision made to widen the vaginal orifice. And on the video I have for you today, the mom giving birth had to have an episiotomy. I'm waiting, Lauren. I can't say. Dr. Christie would know. I think it's sides. You get stitched up. Okay. Once the head is delivered, how would you expect the head is the hardest part to deliver. Once you get to the head, it's easy. Yep. Once the head is delivered, the rest of the body is delivered much more easily. It's actually the shoulders. Once you get past the shoulders, it just squirts out. Do any of you know what a breech birth is? Olivia? Anything that's not the head first. Feet would be that. Feet, butt, shoulder, somewhat like back. Baby's born where the head is not born first. Any position except head first. This makes birth much easier because what if you just come out? What if one of your legs is sticking out? Where'd the other one go? Oh, it's stuck up there. You're going to get torn apart just trying to be born. So they might just have to say, screw it, we're doing a C-section. This can sometimes result in a C-section. Result in C-section if necessary. I'll show you what that is. Who in here's the C-section, baby? All right, let's go back up. Take a look. So here's stage 2. You see the baby's emerging, typically face down. And then the uterine contractions will push down. Once it gets past the shoulders, it's a piece of cake. Over here is the C-section. So if the baby is the wrong position, feet first, leg first, butt first, they will actually open up the mother's waist around her belt line. They had to cut through the skin, fat, and muscle in order to get to the uterus. And once you got into the uterus, you have to open up the uterus too. And then you just pull the baby out. You pull out the baby, you pop the bag, fluid drains out. Then you just deliver the umbilical cord and the placenta through there. Then the mother has to have her uterus stitched up, her muscles stitched up, and her skin stitched up. If you were a C-section baby, your mother probably still has a scar from that day. All right, and the last one, this one is actually very quick. Stage 3, placenta stage, or placental stage. You have to deliver the placenta and fetal membrane. The doctors need to check this to make sure there was proper blood flow, because if there was not proper blood flow, there might be something wrong with the child. So when the baby is born, there's a separate medical professional in there that will look at the placenta and examine it to make sure there's this fit, that it was built properly. This is all considered after birth, and it's generally going to be about 30 minutes after delivery, probably sooner than that. So that is it for your lecture today. For those of you watching this at home, here's what I can recommend that you do, because I can't really show this on a Zoom video. But if you go to the internet, and I'll show you the website I have here, babycenter.com. You can find actual videos of live birth, C-section, and so on. So I'm going to stop the video now, and I'm going to show everyone here in class these videos.